nightmares. It's my dream here.
Really? You wouldn't want bigger boobs?
Perverted Buddha coming out of the side as a peeping Tom. I'm not sure. That's a nightmare. That's a nightmare. The artist is in the room. My apologies. This is The Third Son by E.P. Henderson. The story begins with a prince. There's a prince because, well, there's always a prince. Besides, princes were commoner than raindrops in the old days, when every tiny fiefdom and dukedom and earldom and principality had its own set of quabbling royals, and the neighboring province was just over the brow of the next hill. So, our prince. Let's call him Tertius. It's descriptive, at least, for he's the third of three brothers. Tertius is in a somewhat redundant position of being neither heir nor spare, but something else. Something not of his own choosing. Of the three, he's the adventurer, the youngest princeling. For in a crude and cruel light of practicality, he is the son that is most dispensable, the least likely to be missed. You see, his father, the king, is perfectly benevolent, but not particularly observant. If this is a fairy tale, and who's to say it's not, it follows that there is a prince, so there must be also a princess. And if she doesn't start out as one, well, she may be a beggar maid or a servant slave, but she'll end up as a princess by the end. Would-be Cinderella's, take note. A princess is essential, as is a quest. Now, Tertius's quest is to get the hell out of the kingdom he's in. He tells his father he's heard of a princess of fabulous beauty, imprisoned in a tower of black glass in a land to the east. Curiously, he doesn't say which land to the east. And he seeks permission to ride out and rescue her as soon as possible. It's a lie, of course, but it's a pretty good one because his father gives him the best horse in the stable. And a fond mistiness comes across his eye. He sees him off, and for day and night, over dale and hill, Tertius rides, exulting in the wind, his hair in the wind, his son on his back, whooping with the delight of freedom. Naturally, by nightfall the next day, Tertius has absolutely no idea where he is. The moon is cloud-shrouded, and in the thin linen shirt he's wearing that shows off his muscles, it's no match for the bitter cold that's stealing through the dark forest. Naturally, he's in a dark forest. Where better to lose or to be lost? The only light in the darkness is a twinkling through the trees before him, a tiny beacon in the surrounding black. He spurs on his weary horse till he finds a single candle burning in the window of a lonely inn. He bangs on the door and shouts until the heavy oak door creaks open and a pale face pokes around it. Yeah? Says the face, which is extremely pretty. Have you any rooms? Demands Tertius, peremptorily, for he's a prince and he's unused to discourtesy. Some, she says. Well, let me in then. I'm lost and weary and it's freezing cold. She looks surprised. All right. The door opens and Tertius steps inside, into the hallway, and it's the filthiest dump he has ever been inside. There's clutter everywhere. Cobwebs drape from the corners. Soot blackens the grate. The creaking floorboards are unswept, littered with mouse droppings, dirt, and dust. No wonder there's no guests, Tertius thinks. Are you here alone? He asks the maid. No, she says. The landlord's asleep upstairs. I'll show you to your room. She takes his travel-soiled things, promising to clean them for tomorrow, and shows him up the groaning stairs. His room's just as bad as the rest of the inn, but Tertius is so tired he could sleep in a ditch. So he crawls between the grimy sheets and falls asleep. The next morning, Tertius comes downstairs for breakfast in the filthy, filthy kitchen, and is presented with a platter of things that look as though they've been tortured to death. The twisted blackened sausages look like they're a hangman's rope, the gristling, stringy bacon. There's eggs like burst eyeballs that tremble on the plate. And the less that's said about the porridge, the better. Even the tea tastes like straw and sweepings. It's the worst meal he has ever had. But as the landlord is sitting there silently at the end of the table, he behaves like a polite, well-mannered prince. And as a young gentleman, he thanks the maid politely. However, when she returns his coat, boots, and hat, he cannot restrain himself. His boots are muddier than when he gave them to her. One sole flaps loose. His coat has clearly been washed because it is soaking wet and a size too small. Both sleeves have developed large stains. His hat's been brushed so hard it's flattened. And the feather is all broken and tattered. "What have you done to them?" Tertius cries, horrified. And the serving maid bursts into tears. "I'm so sorry, sir. I tried ever so hard. I can't seem to do anything right. I don't know what's wrong with me." The prince looks at her beautiful face, and wet with tears, her soft white hands, which have surely never mended a stocking in her life. Finally, he cracks. You're a princess, aren't you?" She stops crying and stares. "What? You can't fool me. You're a princess. Are you under a curse or something? Is that it? Is this landlord, is he some sort of ogre that has you under some curse? Has he kidnapped you? Is he forcing you to work as a maid?" Yes. Until someone comes along and breaks the spell?" Her rose-petal lips part hesitantly. She seems to be calculating something. Maybe. He winks at her. "I knew it. Tell me, how do I break the spell?" She blinks, swallows, stammers. The place has to be cleaned and you have to help me. You have to help me till people come here and stay again. Well, the prince is clearly mad, but is he mad enough to help her with her chores? There's only one way to find out. Tertius grins. Say no more. All that day, all that night, with broom and soap and duster, Tertius scrubs every inch of the inn until it sparkles. By the next week, it is full of customers again, so busy the maid, whose name is Sarah, must work full-time behind the bar. Now, barmaiding is the only service role for which she has any talent. She is very, very good at it. The landlord turns out not to be an ogre after all, but actually a quite genial fellow who isn't altogether gloom-sunk when his hostelry is better fortune. Obviously, though Tertius is pretty sure he must have broken the spell by now, well, he can't leave the landlord and skip off home without his Princess Sarah, so he stays for a few months, which turns into years. Sarah and him marry and have 2 fine children, a boy and a girl, and though they often talk about going back to the kingdom, you know, more than anything, they would be leaving this business, and then the landlord finally dies, leaving them with a prosperous little inn to run, so of course they can't go. So days turn into weeks and years and months, and they live and they go on living happily ever after. And as for Tertius's family back at home, well, how does the story end for them? Well, they wait for a while, and every day expecting him to come over the crest of the horizon with his princess bride slung on his horse. But eventually they assume he must have been eaten by a dragon or by a pack of wolves or something. They give him up for dead. But they don't miss him much, right? Because, after all, he's only the 3rd son. Thank you.